And here they come. It's always a great part of the night when we press the button and let everybody in from the waiting room.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. We'll give you a couple of minutes for everyone to join us. I'm so glad those that are on now could join us. And we've got to all introduce Dominique in a couple of minutes. And I see there might be some people who might be headed to France with us on the call. That's kind of exciting. So, and I do have a bad joke ready to start with. And see, Anaïs is already laughing. Thank you, Anaïs. That's so nice of you. So I'll just wait 1 or 2 more minutes and then I'll make our introductions and we'll be off to the races. Tonight we are in Alsace, which is always, I have still not been there personally, so I plan to make a sojourn there for sure. There, and I let somebody else in there, Anaïs. These are such familiar labels to me, Dominique. I'm so, it's really neat. They're in my cellar. They're around the house. They're in storage.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I think we'll get going, and Anaïs, you'll just let people in from the waiting room as they arrive.
Yes.
Thank you for doing the board as usual. Anaïs wasn't here with us on the weekend because she was flying from British Columbia, beautiful British Columbia, to beautiful Quebec. and what is it here today? It's only -1 in Kitchener, so it's actually, I never leave the house, of course. I'm here in the house all day, every day, so I never know what the weather is. But welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us this evening and taking an hour out of your day to learn more about our producers. It's always one of the pillars of Opinion is to meet our producers and get to know them better. And Dominique has so graciously accepted the challenge of speaking to all of us this evening. So first, my bad joke is 2 bottles of wine are talking to one another. One wants to compliment the other and says, "My gosh, you look twice your age." Come on, yeah. All right. Okay, that's a Dominique. That's usually the reaction I get is none. so what I will do is introduce Dominique Soller, which Anaïs helped me with that pronunciation, as did Dominique. He is the general manager of Hunawihr, and that is a cooperative that makes the wine that has been coming to Opinion members for decades. And we're so delighted that you're able to join us. And over to you, sir. I'll have you introduce yourself and a bit about the winery. And I think you've got quite an hour planned for us, in fact.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, hi, everybody. My name is Dominique. I'm the general manager of Cave de Hunawihr. I hope you can see me, you can understand me. So just a quick word maybe about our region, about Alsace. So I'm just going to move and to show you a small map of Alsace. I turned the camera already. So I don't know if you can see, just a quick history maybe to see where is located. Alsace is on the east part of France. And as you know, there is a natural border between actually Alsace, and on the other side, there is actually Germany. It's quite important in our history because, you know, we have been 2 times, we belong 2 times to Germany. That's why we have in Alsace, let's say, our typical language. And if you see the name of our village, which is Hunawihr, and as you can see, Hunawihr is located. Hunawihr. Actually, if you cut the name in 2 parts, you have on the left side you have Una, which is the name of Saint Una, and a legend a long time ago told that Saint Una went to that place and it was a very bad year for all the wine growers because they could not pick up any grapes. So Sint Una went to the fountain and she changed water into wine, and for that reason, the people of the village, they gave the name of Hunawihr. Again, if you cut the name in two parts, you have Una on one side, which means Sint Una, and on the other side you have Vir, which means village. That's our own language. It's a mixture between the French language and the German language. So that's the first thing about Alsace and Hunawihr, where the name comes from. And secondly, if you look at the map, one thing which is very important as far as the wine from Alsace are concerned is actually that small village which is called Celesta. And Celesta is in the middle of the north part of Alsace and the south part of Alsace. That's very important for the wine. When you're looking at a label, you will see that there is a zip code already. 67 means that the wines are coming from the north part of Alsace, and 68, where we are in Hunawihr, means that the wine is coming from the south part. It's very important because you see on the map, you can see here on the map, the biggest part of the vineyards located in the south part of Alsace is on the slope and not in the valley. You see all the villages are located in so-called small slopes, small mountains, which is not the case in the north part. So you have two different types of wines. If you're taking wines from Alsace, from the north part or from the south part, and most of the Grand Cru from Alsace are located in the south part because the vineyards is located in the slope and not in the valley. So that's quite a big difference as far as the wine are concerned. Let's say for the Riesling, coming from the north part, you can keep them longer, and the freshness is different. The acidity is also quite different as from other wines. So back to Hunawihr in the daylight, that's what you can see during the day. So you see that's the place of Hunawihr, and on the left side you can see the winery, like it looks like from outside, and you can see here that's the church, the very well-known church of Hunawihr, where you can see on all our labels. So back to Alsace. One important thing in Alsace is that all our wines are made 100% from the same grape, and actually the name of the grape is the name of the wine. You see on labels, Riesling is actually Riesling, and Gewürztraminer. So all the time, the name of the grape is the name of the wine. The only exception is when we blend two or more grapes, you have to write on the label a name which is called Edelsviker, because you are not allowed in Alsace to blend grapes unless you call the name Edelsviker or another name like Cuvée. Also, as far as the bottle is concerned, you see we have only one bottle shape, which is the typical flute. We call that flute Rhénane, and that's the only bottle which is allowed in Alsace. The bottle can be green, the bottle can be brown, and that's the only bottle which is actually allowed in Alsace. One more thing, which is quite very important, is that you have to bottle the wine in Alsace. It's the same thing for the Champagne, and it's the same thing from the wine coming from the Jura region. Because the other wines like Bordeaux, Côte d'Ivoire, or Burgundy, you can buy bulk wine and you can bottle that wine in Europe, in all the world, or in France. But as far as Alsace is concerned, you can only bottle the wine here in the region of production. Hunawihr, it's a cooperative, so that means our company belongs to the grape grower. We have 130 grape grower, 220 hectares, and we are producing all the grapes in Alsace, Riesling, Pinot Blanc, Gewürztraminer. We are one of the biggest Grand Cru producer. We are number 4 biggest Grand Cru producer from Alsace, because Hunawihr is known to be the pearl of the vineyards of Alsace. Again, because all the vineyards is located in a very nice slope and not in the valley. So maybe we are going down. We are going to make a quick cellar tour. It's okay. You can hear me. You can see me. It's okay.
Perfectly. It's very good.
Perfect.
The connection is excellent. Yes.
So we that's the main point. Is actually the first place is the place where we have our tasting room. You can see that's the tasting room where we welcome our customer. That's the first place. That's so we move downstairs. And we move to the place where we store actually our wines. So you can see here that's one part of the cellar. We are actually in the, let's say, in the basement of the cooperative, and all the time what you see here downstairs, we have the same thing upstairs and the same thing on the left side. Just to give you a figure, we are producing 15 to 16,000 hectoliters, which is something like 2.5 million bottles. And we have a storage capacity twice the volume, which means 35,000 hectoliter storage capacity. So just to give you a quick look, that's stainless steel tanks. You can see here all along.
Many stainless steel tanks.
Many.
Yes.
And also we have, you see, we have several sizes of steel tanks. It's because, you know, we are producing, as I told you, quite a lot of Grand Cru. So for that reason, you need to have several kind of, of stainless steel tank. So we can start. I prepared the first wine to be tasted, and so the first wine to be tasted is actually Pinot Blanc. That's the Pinot Blanc. Pinot Blanc, it's the very typical, let's say. Usually, when we started the tasting, we started already with all the time with the Pinot Blanc, and the Pinot Blanc is really, let's say, I would say in that way, an easy drinking wine. That means you can pair the wine with, you can drink it as an aperitif. You can have it with fish. You can have it with chicken, with a salad. So it's quite, very easy drinking wine. Pinot Blanc. So you see when you taste the wine, the first thing, of course, you look at the color, and when you taste the wine all the time, you try to get some information. First thing, the information you get from the wine as far as the color is concerned, and then let's say you can see that, as an example, that the wine. It's a young wine because the color, of course, we are down in the cellar with light, so it's not very easy to see the color, but that's the typical gold color of a wine from Alsace. And then, of course, when you have the first information as far as the wine is concerned, it seems to be a quite a young wine. The color is very nice, and then, of course, that's the information. You can check it, let's say in that way, with the first nose. So you take we smell for the first time. So you see, you can for the Pinot Blanc, you have the very typical notes of apricot. That's a very typical note from Pinot Blanc. And second smell, that means you have to turn a little bit the glass, because when you turn the glass and the wine inside, you get some oxygen in the glass, and the oxygen will give other notes. So that's the second nose. And again, in the second nose, you feel the freshness of the wine again. So the first information that the wine is quite young is confirmed. It's 2019, and you have 2020 on the offer.
And fairly similar vintage, 2020 to 2019.
It's quite similar
Yes.
as far as Pinot Blanc is concerned.
I see that Marc-Andre on the call and Jean-Paul, and Marc-Andre is drinking the 2019 along with you right now. So that's good.
Okay.
And I have a question, is that I've got a much older one. I've got a 2015 here that I haven't opened yet, but it doesn't say that it's a reserve. Were they not reserves then, now that we're offering the reserve? Is that correct?
You're offering the reserve, but I
Ouais.
guess I see a medal or something like that on your bottle.
Yes. No, I think it's just your coat of arms. But,
It's vieille vigne, it's old wines.
ouais.
It's old
So
wines.
a different wine altogether, correct?
Different wine, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So the first tip, of course, you can you feel that the wine that the Pinot Blanc has a very nice acidity, and again that typical notes of nectarine, apricot, pear as well. That's a typical note of Pinot Blanc. It's quite long. After tasting, it's quite long with a very nice finish. And again, the Pinot Blanc, you can have it. It's really a wine from very easy drinking wine from Alsace.
Great. And Jean-Paul is asking a question, Dominique. If
Yep.
Pinot Blanc is a mutation of Pinot Noir, why does it taste so different?
No. Pinot Blanc. I'm not sure if it's a mutation of Pinot Noir.
Ouais.
It's Pinot Noir is, of course, Pinot Noir is actually the red grape, but Pinot Blanc, Pinot Blanc, Pinot Gris, all the wines from the Pinot family, they are quite different as far as the taste is concerned. With the Pinot Blanc is more crispy, has more acidity. The Pinot Gris has more residual sugar, and of course the Pinot Noir is a red wine, and that has nothing to do as far as the production and the fermentation are concerned.
Thank you. And Crystal and Gary wanted you to know that they're drinking along with you as well, the 2019 Pinot Blanc. So there you are. Okay. It is a very popular wine with members. There's no question about it.
So the second wine is actually Riesling, a Riesling Reserve as well. So I just also put some, you can see some charts, and on the right side there is a glass, and on the glass you can see some, you see that the typical notes for, let's say, for the Pinot Blanc, the apricot, the nuts, a little bit buttery. And when we move to the Riesling, that's actually the chart for the Riesling. One very important note for the Riesling is, of course, the citrus and lime. That's one of the typical notes of the Riesling. Riesling is one of the most grapes in Alsace, and let's say it's the king of the wine from Alsace. But Riesling is very popular compared to the Pinot Blanc. It's something like 30% of the total wineries in Alsace. Something like the 25 to 30% is actually Riesling. So the notes of the Riesling, what is very typical is it's a dry wine. It's a very dry wine, And let's say the typical notes is citrus and lime. That's one of the two typical notes as far as the Riesling is concerned. Nice, again, as I told you before, all the vineyards in Hunawihr are located in the slope and not in the valley. That gives wines with a very nice mineral touch. That's quite important, and with a well-balanced, let's say, acidity and mineral touch. Again, when you taste the wine, you have really the freshness, the nice acidity in the palate, and the fruits is coming, and a really nice long finish and after tasting. The typical the pairing with the Riesling will be fish. That's and of course the typical, if you are lucky to have a choucroute of Alsace, that's a typical dish you can have with the Riesling.
So it's sauerkraut in English. Oui? Oui.
Sauerkraut in English, that's correct.
Yes. And with the dry Riesling, I've always associated a sweet Riesling with the acidity of a choucroute, but that it works with the dry Riesling as well.
With the dry Riesling, you mean you can
that food pairing of the very acidic choucroute, oui? It is, yeah.
And you can also the very nice food pairing with the Riesling is of course the the grilled fish, or how do you say, we have a typical dish in Alsace which is pasta with fish, so fish and like a creamy sauce, something like that, fish with a creamy sauce. That's it's a very nice food pairing with the Riesling. And one more thing, as far as Riesling is concerned, usually in France, sometimes we have red wine with cheese, but my suggestion would be to have cheese with white wine, and a very nice white goat cheese with Riesling is absolutely perfect. So it's sometimes better to have a white wine with cheese than a red wine. And sometimes in some restaurant you're drinking red wine with the main meal, and then it's still rest a little bit of red wine, and sometimes you finish the red wine with the cheese, which is not the best food pairing. That's why white wine and Riesling with goat cheese is very nice. Riesling with cheese like Comté is also very nice. And Gewürztraminer, of course, the next one you're going to taste. Gewürztraminer goes very well with Munster cheese, one very typical cheese from Alsace. So the next wine is Gewürztraminer. Gewürztraminer is one of the most aromatic. With the muscat, is one of the most aromatic grape in Alsace, and you have that typical notes of lychee, orange. That's really the typical note of Gewürztraminer. I show you on the chart. You see ginger as well, ginger, lychees, and roses. That's some of the very typical notes of Gewürztraminer. And one of the very nice food pairing with Gewürztraminer is Chinese food, or some spicy Chinese food, Thai food. That's something which fits very well with Gewürztraminer.
And I'm seeing this has a bit more residual sugar than the than the Riesling.
That's correct. Yeah. To give you an idea, Pinot Blanc is roughly like let's say 4 to 5 grams residual sugar. Riesling we move to 5, sometimes to 6. And as far as Gewürztraminer is concerned, Gewürztraminer is like 13 to 14 gram residual sugar. Yeah, so that's why, you know, I'm tasting first the Pinot Blanc, then I move to the Riesling, but then I go to the most aromatic grapes, the Gewürztraminer.
Lovely, lovely.
So we're going to move to the second step.
Great, and if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to put them in the chat here. And Renee is saying that that this wine, and I think we were at the Riesling, is great with bratwurst and sauerkraut, which yeah, I have to agree, that's making my mouth water.
So we move to another part of the cellar, which is actually the place where we have our oak barrel. So that's the place with you can see where we have all the oak barrel, and on the back, I hope that the connection will stay. On the back, we have our wine light.
Oh, I think we lost you.
We keep the very old vintages. Means for every single harvest, we take out something like 18 to you see old vintages.
Dominique, you've gone too far. So we couldn't hear half of that, I'm afraid.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
That's
I
okay.
say it again. So we keep. You hear me? It's okay.
Yes, now you're good.
Okay, so we keep something like we have 8,000 bottles of old vintages in our cellar, and every year we keep 18 to 24 bottles, from the most interesting wines. So that's actually the part where we have the oak barrel. You see, that's all. And in those oak barrels, we are producing the chasselas, and we are also producing the basic wine, the base wine for our crémant. The C5 we are going to taste afterwards, but that's the place where we actually, you see, we have two places with the oak barrels. All the barrels coming from actually from Burgundy. It's so-called second-hand barrels. So we start with the tasting with chasselas.
So when you deliberately do a bit of an older barrel so that it doesn't take as much oak, right, from the barrel?
Yep, that's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
That's correct. So just to, I'm going to pour chasselas. And chasselas, it's actually a very old grape in Alsace. But as I told you before, chasselas was used a long time ago only to blend grapes together. That means when we used to produce Edelzwicker, that means when we blend two wines, we use chasselas to make actually the link between 2 or 3 grapes. And a couple of years ago, we decided to separate the grapes of chasselas and to produce a wine 100% chasselas. Chasselas is one of the most typical grape in Switzerland, but we use, I guess that we are one of the only companies producing a 100% chasselas.
And this is one to drink with your raclette, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Again, white wine with cheese. That's perfect as well. And chasselas, are we not? And what we did as well is to put chasselas in oak barrel. So again, you don't have the wood side. It's just to give a little bit more, let's say, structure to the wine. Where we put the chasselas in the oak barrel. The typical notes of the chasselas will be apple. That's the most powerful note in the chasselas, and melon as well. And it's actually the wood bring the structure to the wine, and then at the very end you have a very small notes of lemon. I would suggest, why not? I don't know if it's popular to have a chasselas with as well, with why not with asparagus? That could be very fine as well, to have a chasselas with asparagus.
Yeah, and in fact, our food writer put it with asparagus flan, so
Okay.
that makes a lot of sense. Yes.
And why not? Yeah, that's. But even chasselas, that chasselas also as an aperitif, that could be very nice to have it as an aperitif. In my opinion, it looks, I will not say similar, but due to the fact that we put chasselas in an oak barrel, it's very close with, I will not say with a Sauvignon, but it's not far away. So now we are going to move to something which is quite unusual and let's say very special. It's actually a Pinot Gris, which has let's say rosé color, which is more blush color. And as you know, the Pinot Gris, I pour actually the two wines. I pour the Pinot Gris and the Pinot Noir. So you can see the difference. The Pinot Noir, of course, is more darker than the Pinot Gris. And we decided to make a maceration with the skin, the juice, and the flesh of the grape Pinot Gris. That's why we get that very nice salmon, let's say salmon color, but it's still Pinot Gris. Quite unusual. I think we are maybe one of the only producer having a Pinot Gris with that color. So we are leaving the grapes, let's say the juice with the flesh, with the skin. It's not too long. It takes, because the grape of the Pinot Gris is purple. The color is purple. So you just have to leave in the press a couple of hours, and then you get that very nice color. As far as the taste is concerned, it's again, we have that very typical, again, it's more, it's if you like Pinot Gris with residual sugar, this one is made more on the drier side. So that Pinot Gris is more dry than the traditional Pinot Gris. But you found the typical notes of the Pinot Gris, which is a note of pear. You have quite a strong note of pear, and you feel a little bit that fermentation with the let's say juice and the grape. It's a very interesting wine. Food pairing, I would suggest, let's say, why not having a nice salad, something like that, as an appetizer, as a starter, or why not have a food pairing with a grilled fish, on the barbecue, or why not, one thing which could be very interesting as a food pairing. I don't know if it's something. I don't know if you have it in Canada. Is steak tartare, which is where meat is uncooked.
We do, and, yes.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because the tartare sometimes is a little bit spicy. So having that Pinot Gris, with a nice, let's say, salmon color with a steak tartare, that could be a very nice food pairing.
And serve it nice and cold, right?
Sorry?
Serve it nice and cold.
Yeah.
Yes. And let's catch up on a few things. Greg said a few years ago he purchased Muscat, and it was when it was offered, and he hasn't seen it in several years. Any ideas why it isn't? I know that when we offer dessert wines and sweeter wines, they tend not to sell through very well. That might be one of the reasons.
I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I don't know.
And Jean-Paul is saying that he's going to be doing some sauerkraut and ribs with that Riesling.
Yeah, why not?
And Renee is saying she prefers the Gewürztraminer with bratwurst and sauerkraut. So there you are. There are no wrong answers, are there?
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
So we move to Pinot Noir, and again that's the only red grape we have in Alsace. It's actually Pinot Noir, and with the Pinot Noir, this one is a rosé. So it's not that it's the typical, let's say, red. That's the only red wine grape we have in Alsace, and Pinot Noir rosé. So that's the typical, the typical note of Pinot Noir is actually strawberry, and the big difference in Alsace, Pinot Noir is the let's say one of the it's the only grape we have in Burgundy. And the Pinot Noir we have in Alsace. It's, let's say, totally different from the Pinot Noir they have in Burgundy. We do it in a different way. And this one, the Pinot Noir rosé, again, strawberry note, very fresh wine, and typical food pairing will be with meat, grilled fish, salad, quiche. That's really the typical. And also, why not? We have many Chinese restaurants in using Pinot Noir as a food pairing with Chinese food, like the Gewürztraminer.
And relatively low alcohol too. That helps with that kind of pairing, doesn't it?
Mm.
Sorry, that's the question.
Sorry.
Oh yeah.
So that's actually Pinot Noir rosé.
That's one that really interests me. It's so unique. I'm absolutely going to order that guy.
So Pinot Noir rosé is very it's let's say it's a very I will not say a light red wine, but it has been made in, let's say, in that way. So it's very fresh. It's a typical wine for, let's say, for the summer. That's it's a nice wine you're drinking outside on a terrace, having a salad, having a grilled meat, something like that. That's and of course to be doing chilled.
Right.
Rosé.
Lovely.
So we're back to another part of the winery. We move to the place where we are. Just to give you a quick word about Crémant. Crémant is produced like it's the same way like Champagne. It's the so-called méthode traditionnelle. So what we do for the Crémant, you make the so-called base wine. Then you put the base wine in the bottle, and then you add sugar and lees, and the second fermentation takes place in the bottle. So after 3 or 4 weeks, due to the fermentation, you have the pressure inside the bubbles and inside the bottle, and the bubbles starting to appear. After minimum 12 months, you have to take out the lees, and the way you're doing that is you're going to turn the bottle. First of all, you leave the bottle on that, a square. Then you turn and you move the bottle. You turn, you move the bottle. You turn, you move the bottle, and then you see that the lees is going on the lees and the sugar is going to to sweep on to that side of the bottle, to the cap, and then at the very end you see the lees is here on the cap of the bottle, and then you have to freeze that part. You take out the cap, and with 6 bar of pressure, the lees is captured in the ice block and is going away, and then you add again some Crémant, and then the Crémant is ready to be sold. It's the same thing. It's the méthode champenoise. Méthode champenoise, actually the same producing Crémant. Méthode traditionnelle, méthode champenoise. It's the same way.
And do you have gyro pallets to do the riddling now, or do you still have 46 guys there turning the
No, no,
balls.
no, no. It's I show you afterwards. All the whittling is done automatic.
All right.
The Crément we have is the Crément C5. I show you. Crément Rosé C5, and just again the Crément C5 is made with 100% Pinot Noir. And the thing is that the base wine is aged in oak barrel. That's why I tasted the Crément C5 here, because the base wine used for the production of the C5 is aged in oak barrel. So again, 100% Pinot Noir. And you found the typical note of the Pinot Noir, the strawberry notes, a very nice Crément. You can have it as an aperitif, of course, but why not using Crément during a lunch or during a dinner, and having Crément, from the starter to the dessert. That's something which is possible. And why not having the Crément C5 with why not having it with fish? That could be a very nice food pairing as well. It's possible, to have Crément all along a dinner or a lunch. And that Crément C5, the perfect one of also the good food pairing could be with a nice chocolate dessert. That could be a very nice food pairing with Crément C5.
Interesting.
Very nice freshness. That's very typical from the Crément. A long after tasting, and the point for the Crément is really the freshness. When you have Crément as a starter, as an appetite, as an aperitif, it gives it opens the palate for the lunch or for the dinner. And again, another food pairing with the dessert with a very nice. That would be perfect.
And Marie Soller bought this last year, the mixed case, and she loves it. I have to say, I've got the case downstairs too, and I love it as well. So, and Marc-André is asking, why is the vintage not indicated on Bubbly wines?
We have Crément, where the vintage is indicated on bubbling wines, on sparkling wine. Why? We have some, because the aim for the Crément is to have, let's say, a style of Crément, and to keep the same style, we blend base wine from the vintage year. It's for example from 2021 was 2021 was the latest harvest, but we keep some base wine from the vintage before. That means we blend base wine from 21 with base wine from 20. It's something like 10 or 10% from the previous vintage and 90% from the current vintage. That's why you cannot put vintage on the sparkling wine. But we have one Crément with a vintage. I'm going to show you. And that Crément is 2017.
Oh, wow.
And that Crément is actually made only with base wine from the year of the vintage. But it's just to keep the same style, to have all the time the same style. The aim is not to erase the taste or the profile from the vintage, but it's to keep the same freshness, the same style for the Crément. That's why we keep all the time base wine from the previous vintage. We blend with the current vintage. That's why we cannot put the vintage on the Crément.
And Marie Soller is asking if you could do the Crément with spicy food.
With spicy food, why not? Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, because Renee doesn't like that.
Just to give you
to each their own. And what I can say is that the Crément isn't high in alcohol again, so that can work with spice. What you really want to avoid with spice is high alcohol, because it just accelerates the heat and makes it really uncomfortable. So it is personal taste, but that Clément could go with spicy food.
You know, the point is, in my opinion, is that it's really something very personal and very, you have your own feeling, your own palate. So, you know, sometimes you can find by your own some very nice food pairing, which could be sometimes strange. You know, Pinot Gris with a steak tartare could be very strange, but you know, when you have it, you sometimes you're surprised, or even Riesling with goat cheese. So, you know, it's very personal feeling, the type you like to drink the wine. That's so just to give you a quick look, that's the place where we are storing all the wines. You see, they are all ready to be shipped. I hope you still can hear me. I'm moved to the place of Crémant.
Oh. So our wines will be palleted soon and ready to go. So that's good.
That's yeah. That's the place where we store all the Crémant.
He's gone too
And
far
you
again.
can see here
Yeah, we can't hear you, Dominique.
the place where we're turning. So we have 1.2 million bottles of Crémant. You heard that?
Wow.
You hear me?
Now I know, once you got back
You hear
into
me?
this room. Yes, you're back now. But
Okay.
and if you can just describe that, it was those metal pallets that are the gyro pallets that get turned so that so that the leaves go to the neck.
Yep, correct. That's correct. Yeah. So I just take with me the bottles of ice Crémant, because you can. I go back to the caveau so you can hear me better. Just.
So this one fascinates me. So I really want to know what's up with this ice.
So the Crémant ice. In a Crémant, you have something like 6 to 7, 6 to 7 residual sugar, and in the Crémant ice, you have something like 37 to 42 gram of residual sugar. Okay, so because the Crémant ice, actually, the aim of the Crémant ice is to be drink with ice cube. It's actually, let's say in that way, it's our Aperol Spritz from Alsace. Don't know if,
Oh, isn't that fun?
so you see, ice means actually, show you the bottle. So actually, I have a glass of Crémant ice without ice cubes, but I really suggest to put something like 8 to 10 ice cubes and to use a very big glass, you know, and that's why we put quite a lot of residual sugar, because you can mix the Crémant with ice cubes, and then you have, when the ice cubes melt, then of course you have water in the Crémant. So that's why we put quite a lot of residual sugar to keep the taste of the Crémant. So that's that's, you know, the typical let's say drink you have during the summertime. But I really recommend to put ice cubes and to have. It's really like Aperol Spritz. You know, when we see the success of Aperol Spritz, we decide to have our own Alsatian Aperol Spritz, and we call that ice cream.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Why not having it without ice? But if you like Crémant, the freshness and nice acidity, it's better to you know, to put some ice cubes in with the ice cream.
A summer deck wine for sure.
So we move to just put down. We move to the lieu-dit. So the big difference with again, we have the grape Riesling, but this time we move to lieu-dit, and the difference between Riesling Reserve and lieu-dit is that actually the grapes for the lieu-dit, as it indicates, they are coming only from one place, which is called Mühlforst. And again, Mühlforst means the wind, forst means the forest, because that place is very windy. You know, it's a very windy place. So for that reason, it's called Mühlforst. That place is called Mühlforst, and the grapes are only coming from that place. The other difference is that the production, when we are talking about wine from Alsace, the production is 65 to 70 hectoliter per hectare. That means you're harvesting as much as grape to produce 65 to 70 hectoliter per hectare. And when you're talking about lieu-dit, you're coming down to 50 hectoliter per hectare. That means you're looking for more concentration. So that's the Riesling Mühlforst.
And this is 2017 is the one we're offering right now? Is that what you're drinking as well?
I think so.
Where?
So that's Riesling.
Oh wait, that's the Gewürz, and you've got the Riesling right now, right? Sorry.
Yeah, Riesling. The Riesling is 2020. You have the vintage 2020.
Okay.
Again, wow, that's it's a very dry wine, very dry, nice acidity, and like for the Riesling Reserve, you know, you have that very nice concentration. You have citrus, you have lemon. So and the big difference, you know, is really is more powerful than the Riesling Reserve. And of course, you can keep the Riesling Mühlforst. You can drink it right now, or you can keep it, you know, in a cellar for, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years without any problem. Yeah.
Wow.
From the lieu-dit, we move, of course, to the Grand Cru. That's another step on the top. It's again a Riesling, but it's a Grand Cru. So that means we're going down as far as the production is concerned to 50 hectoliter per hectare. And of course, it's another site, it's another place. Mühlforst is in the middle of Hunawihr, and Chenambourg is on the back of Hunawihr on a slope going to the village of Hunawihr. So it's the same grape, but it's a totally different taste, because the soil and the terroir, of course, is totally different. And of course, you move from a lieu-dit to a Grand Cru. Just in that glass.
And I think it's important to say that you can't just take any set of grapes from vines and do less production and get a better wine. You also have to choose that terroir as well, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And then you concentrate the really good stuff.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
No, but if you see, if you compare the two wines, on the left I have the Riesling Mühlforst, on the right I have the Chenambourg. It's quite difficult to show you the difference, but when you look at the color is different. The nose, it's, you know, it's more concentrated, of course, in the Grand Cru than in a lieu-dit. It's two different wine. They are coming from two different places. You have, again, you know, the profile of the Riesling, which is citrus, lemon, which remain the same, but it's really two different wines. You know, it's and of course you have the you know, the food pairing. Again, that will be with the Chenambourg. You can have it with really nice fish that fits very well with the Chenambour. It's a really it's a great Grand Cru. It's very well known all over Alsace, and I think that's a very nice wine, Riesling Grand Cru Chenambour.
Beautiful.
And Lieu-dit Mulforst. We move to let's say to a very special wine that will be the late harvest. And the most well-known late harvest, of course, the one made with the Gewürztraminer, because the Gewürztraminer, as I told you before, is one of the most aromatic grapes. I don't know if you can see if it's possible to show you the color of the wine. I'll try to.
You don't have any white pages.
This is for a white page.
Yes.
You see, just to.
There you are.
You see, it's
golden.
It's very no, it's a very nice gold color. But you can the color of the wine is really, it's very typical from the late harvest, and of course the residual sugar in the late harvest is quite it's something like 95 grams, and to produce the late harvest there is that noble rot on the grape, so we are waiting let's say this year the harvest started in September, and the late harvest was picked in the end of October, beginning of November. So we are really waiting the concentration of the sugar in the grapes. So you have it's very, very aromatic. It's a really nice wine. It's very aromatic. Typical notes, and typical notes of the Gewürztraminer with that nice lychee, and it looks, it has a smell of. Let's say of jam, it's like very concentrated. And producing a late harvest, it's sometimes for some harvest we are not able to produce late harvest because we don't have the grape for that. So it's very rare to produce to have a late harvest.
And these are not botrytis affected?
Sorry?
Are they affected by botrytis?
Botrytis, yeah.
Yes. Do these have that effect?
Yeah, that's
Right.
in the end of October, beginning of November.
Right.
And when you look at the grapes, they are looking like small. Actually, they are like my fingers. They are very small with a lot of concentration of sugar.
Right.
So the typical, let's say, for late harvest is of course to have it as a dessert wine, because of the level of, my opinion, because of the level of residual sugar, it's maybe better to have it at the end of a lunch or of a dinner.
Ah, very good. And we've got a question about your. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's better also to have it at the very end of a tasting, because of the high level of residual sugar. Right.
Yeah, and that's one I don't have in my cellar. I'm surprised to see the late harvest in 750 ml bottles. That's quite the value. So I'm looking forward to that. But we have a question about the Grand Cru. The one tonight was the Schönberg 2020, and how does that compare to one we had before called the Grand Cru Osterberg, the 2018? That might be an unfair question if you can remember the 18 Osterberg.
That's Riesling Osterberg. Actually, first of all, the terroir is totally different, because Riesling Osterberg is coming from the place of Ribeauvillé. So the soil, the terroir is totally different from the Chenambour, and so it's really, when you grow grapes on one side, that means at the Osterberg close to Ribeauvillé, and when you grow the grapes on the Chenambour close to Hunawihr, it's really two different type of. It's the same grape, of course, it's Riesling, but the soil, the terroir is totally different. So maybe the Chenambour will be more on a drier style, No, sorry, the Osterberg will be more on a drier style than the Schönenbourg. The Schönenbourg has more residual sugar than the Osterberg. So if you want more, if you like, the difference is acidity, dry, Osterberg, a little bit more round, well balanced, with a little bit more residual sugar, Schönenbourg.
Great. And Marc-Andre has the Tartif and says it's superb dessert wine. And I didn't know we had offered it before. So that's brilliant. That's great. Thanks, Marc-Andre. I'm definitely going to buy that case. I'm looking forward. I always have dessert wines at my dinners here at the house. So it's always nice to have something to serve my guests. And you're right, Marc-Andre, that's 750 mils. That's good. That's more for everybody. So. Well, that's brilliant. Thank you so much. You timed this absolutely perfectly. It's exactly 7 o'clock here and much later where you are. So thank you very much.
It's 1 o'clock in France.
And Dominique was saying that he was going to show us the church, but the entire village is in darkness because he's the only one up. So
I can hold on. I can try. If I can. Maybe I can try to do something, but I just
pretty soon you're going to have the gendarme at the door saying, "Why are the lights on here?"
The police, you mean?
Yes, that's right.
I can try, but I'm running to the door. I'm going outside to the terrace. Oh, it's really dark.
Yeah, yes,
it's really in the back.
Very dark. No, thank you for staying up so late for us, Dominique. We really appreciate it. Thank you to all of the opinion members who have joined us, and it's just wonderful to make these connections as usual. Just enjoy them so very much, and can't wait to see Alsace one day. I'm going to come and see you for sure. And Anaïs, thank you for running it. Appreciate it every time.
Thank you.
And we'll see everybody on the next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night. Good morning to you, Dominique. Okay. Bye.
Bye. Bye.